I'm Anil Kumar. Welcome to my series on random variables and probability distribution. Here is a test paper on probability distribution. You can use graphing calculator or even Excel sheet to evaluate some solutions. The questions here are there are 8 questions here. We'll discuss the questions first. After that, you can pause the video, answer the questions, and then look into my suggestions. Here is a general remark, and that is that round all your answers to three significant figures unless otherwise stated. Question number one is kind of fill in the blanks. Given that x is distributed normally with the mean of 15 and variance of 9, determine the mean and standard deviation. 1b. A set of data has mean of 175 and standard deviation of 5. The datum of 170 has a z-score of 1. True or false? Determine the z-score for the standard normal distribution given that the probability of x less than x is equal to 0.76, right? So you can answer the questions in this portion. Let's move on. Question 1d. It is estimated that in any parking lot, 8% of the cars are Toyotas. What is the expected number of Toyotas at Woodbines if there are 4,000 cars parked? Question number 1e. Given a normal distribution with mean of 110 and a standard deviation of 15, determine x such that the probability of x less than x is equal to 0.33. Question number 1f. Given that y is distributed and we have a binomial distribution here where n is 5 and the probability for success is half, determine the exact value of probability when y equals to 1. Question number 2. The random variable x has the following probability distribution. X equals to -1 with probability of 2k, 0, 4k square, 1, 6k square, 2k. Question number 2 is determine the value of k, and part B is determine the probability x equals to 1 as a fraction. Question number 3. Suppose that x is distributed normally with mean of 15 and standard deviation of 2.5. How many standard deviation is x equals to 16.1 away from the mean? B is determine the value of x, which is 1.2 standard deviations below the mean. Question number 4. During an election, 35% of the people in Toronto favored fishing restrictions in the Humber River. 8 people were randomly selected from the downtown. Determine the probability that 4 people favored the fishing restrictions. 4b. At the most, 6 people favored the fishing restriction. 4c. There was a majority in favor of fishing restrictions. D. Between 2 and 5 inclusive favored fishing restrictions. And question 4e is what is the expected number of people that favored the fishing restrictions to 1 decimal place? Question number 5. The mass of packet of washing detergent is normally distributed with the mean of 500 grams and a standard deviation of 20 grams. Determine the probability that a packet chosen at random has a mass of less than 475 grams. Determine the probability that the packet chosen at random has a mass greater than 508 grams. 3 packets are chosen at random. What is the probability that all 3 packets have a mass which is greater than 508 grams? Okay, let's move on. Question number 6. The adult of a breed of dog has an average height of 0.7 meters with variance of 0.05 meters square. If the height follow a normal distribution, find the probability that the 6 independently selected dogs of this breed, exactly 4, are over 0.75 meters tall. Question number 7. A company does not know the mean and standard deviation of the diameter of a ball bearing being produced. However, all bearings larger than 2.4 centimeter and those under 1.8 centimeters in diameter are rejected. It is found that 8% of the ball bearings are rejected as too small and 5.5% as too big. If this represents a normal distribution, determine the mean and the standard deviation. This is a 6-mark question. Question number 8. The discrete random variable x can take only the values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The probability distribution of x is given by the probability when x equals to 0, x equals to 1 and 2 is A. And for probability of x equals to 3, 4, for 3 equals to probability with 4 equals to probability with x equals to 5, and that is B. Probability of x greater than or equal to 2 is equals to 3 times probability for x less than 2, where a and b are constants. Determine the value of a and b. That's worth 4 marks. You can now pause the video, answer all these questions, and then look into my suggestions. Now let's see these solutions one by one. Uh, let's begin with A itself. So we are given that the distribution, the normal distribution with the parameters 15 and 9. And as you know, we need to find mean and standard deviation. The 15 indicates the mean itself, right? So clearly we can write down what the mean is. So mean is 15 and the standard deviation is square root of 9, right? That is the variance given to you. Standard deviation is 3, right? 1b. A set of data has a mean of 175 and standard deviation of 5. The datum of 170 has a z-score of 1. True or false? Well, you can calculate the z-score using this formula, z equals to x minus mu over sigma. Basically, it is a transformation, right, which is going to map this into a normal distributed graph, right? So it is 170 minus 175 over 5. When you calculate that, you get minus 1, not 1. So this is false. 1c. Determine the z-score for a standard normal distribution given that probability x less than 1, x, so is 0.76. So you can use the graphing calculator, the function inv norm, so inverse normal, 0.7601 as the parameters, and you'll get the answer as 0.706. Question number 1d. It is estimated that in any package lot, 8% of the cars in Toyota are Toyotas. What is the expected number of Toyotas at Woodbine if there are 4,000 cars? Well, expected value is n times p. So the product of these two is going to give you 320. That becomes the answer. Clear? 1e. Given a normal distribution with mean of 110 and standard deviation of 15, determine x such that the probability x less than x is 0.33. Well, again, you can use the inverse normal function, 0.33, 0 and 1 being the parameters, so you get minus 0.440. Now you need to find the value of x, so you can use the transformation for z-score. That is the z-score for you, right? So that is the z-score, and z-score is equals to x minus 110 over 15 in this case. So you can just solve for x to get the answer, correct? So that is how you're going to do this question. So remember, z-score is x minus mu over sigma. Correct. So let's move on. Question number 1F. Here is given by that binomial distribution 5.5. So determine the exact value of p, y equals to 1. So you can use the function binomial PDF to find the value p 1 half 1. 5 half 1, which gives you the value of 0.156. So that becomes the solution for this particular question. So this test paper is to be done with the graphing calculator. Answer 2. A random variable x has the following probability distribution. Find the value of k. So we're given these values for k. X is minus 1, 0, 1, and 2, and the probabilities are given as 2k, 4k squared, 6k squared, and k. Now their sum has to be 1, so that gives you one of the equations. So one equation is straight sum equals to 1. The other one, what we can actually, well, here let's first calculate the value of k from here. So when you solve this, you get k as equals to 1 over 5. The other factor here, which is 2k plus 1, gives you minus 1 over 2, which is not a valid value, extraneous root. So just leave that. Part B is determine p for x equals to 1 as a fraction. So for 1, we have this value of 6k squared. And so you can just substitute the value of k as 1 over 5 and calculate your answer. So write it to 3 significant figures. That is kind of critical. Question 3. Suppose that the uh, x is distributed normally with the mean of 15 and standard deviation of 2.5. How many standard deviation is x equals to 16.1 away from the mean? So basically we can find the z-score x minus mu over sigma, and substituting the values we get the answer as 0.440. So that is the number of standard deviation away from the mean, correct? Question 3b. Determine the value of x such that 1.2 standard deviations below the mean, right? So in that case, we know that the z-score is minus 1.2 since it says below the mean. So if it is below the mean, you have this negative number. And again, apply the formula x minus 15 over 2.5 in this case, since the mean is 15 and standard deviation is 2.5. Cross multiply and then solve for x, correct? So you get the x value as 12. Question number 4. During an election, 35% of the people in Toronto favored the fishing restrictions in the Humber River. 8 people were randomly selected from the downtown. Determine the probability that. So we have, based on this, 5 questions. First one, 4 people favored fishing restrictions. So for x equals to 4, we can use the binomial function binom PDF. So PDF function can be used with 8, 0.35, and 4 as the parameter to get the answer as written here. Correct? 0.188. Part B is, at the most 6 people favored the fishing restrictions. We are selecting 8 of them, correct? Remember that part. And from 8 people, we want at the most. So that means x is less than equal to 6. And for this, we will use the cumulative distributive function. So binom CDF is the function 8, 0.356 are the parameters which give you the answer as 0.996. Part C. There was a majority in favor of fishing restrictions. Now out of 8, the majority means 5, 6, 7, or 8. So all these conditions, right? So greater than equal to 5 is what we are interested in. We can also say 1 minus probability for x less than equal to 4. And so we can use the cumulative distribution function. This is a binomial distribution given to us. 1 minus binomial CDF will give us the answer with parameters 8, 0.35, and 4. So 0.106 will be your answer. So we are actually discussing all these answers in short so that you have the solutions at least, not just the answers, right? Okay, now part D is between 2 and 5, both inclusive, favored fishing restrictions. So between 2 and 5 means that we could use this cumulative distribution function twice, and so we have the probability between 2 and 5. But remember, the parameters will be what? So 8, 0.355 will give you everything, including 5 and less than that. And then we'll use second time the same function 8, 0.351 because we are interested in including the 2, right? So now 1, and that gives you 0.806 as your answer. Part E. What is the expected number of people that favored the fishing restrictions to one decimal place? So expected values n times p, and then n is 8 for you, p is 0.35, we get 2.80 as the answer. So I hope that is absolutely clear. Here are answers to question number 5. In this case, the question is, the mass of packet of washing detergent is normally distributed with the mean of 500 grams and standard deviation of 20 grams. Based on this, we have 3 questions here. Determine the probability that a packet chosen at random has mass less than, right? Less than 475. So we'll use the probability distribution function, and this is a normal distribution as has been given to you. So we'll use normal CDF. So from minus infinity, which is minus 10 to the power of 99, 475 is given to us. We want interested in this value, less than this 520, and that gives you the answer as 0.106. You could also use the Excel sheet to get these answers. 5b. Determine the probability that the packet chosen at random has mass greater than 508. So for greater than, we could do 1 minus less than equal to 508, right? So that we could do and get the answer, right? So this is 508, let's say. And when you substitute these values in the calculator, then you get the answer as 0.345. Question number 5c. 3 packets are chosen at random. What is the probability that all 3 packets have the mass which is greater than this? So these are independent events, 3 chosen. So it will be cube of this probability, and that gives you the answer as 0.041. Question number 6. The adult of a breed of dog has an average height of 0.7 meters with a variance of 0.05 meters square. If the height follows a normal distribution, find the probability that of 6 independently selected dogs of this breed, exactly 4 are over 0.75 meters tall. So, well, we are given the variance this time. So to find the standard deviation, we'll do square root of that. So we get 0.224. Mean is given to us as 0.5. We can apply the formula for x greater than 0.75 using the normal distribution cumulative, and this time from uh, uh, given value of 0.75 to infinity, right? And we are given the parameters 0.7. We just calculated standard deviation as 0.224. So let me put a comma here. Yes, there, right, okay. And so we get 0.412 as the answer. So once we know that this is the probability density, in that case, we can find the probability for x equals to 4 using the binomial distribution formula, which is binomial PDF, exactly 4. And then we get 6, 0.4124 as the parameters to give you the answer as 0.149. So the probability that of 6 independently selected dogs of this breed, exactly 4, are over 0.75 meter tall is 14.9%. So we are almost at the end. Second last question for you, question number 7. You can always pause in between, answer these questions. This is a very important question and definitely help you for your own exam. A company does not know the mean and standard deviation of the diameter of ball bearing being produced. However, all bearings larger than 2.4 centimeters and those under 1.8 centimeter in diameter are rejected. It is found that 8% of ball bearings are rejected as too small and 5.5% as too big. If this represents the normal distribution, determine the mean and the standard deviation, right? So in this case, we know what is included and what is not included, correct? So we are saying that all the bearings larger than 2.4 are rejected and smaller than 1.8 are rejected, correct? And we have also known what is there. It is found that 8% of ball bearings are rejected as too small. So that is 8%, and 5.5% are too big, right? 5.5% are too big. So convert them to decimal values, and then we know how to solve this, correct? So follow the steps as shown here. Okay, so so we know that in this case the probability for greater than 2.4 is given to us. So 1 minus this value will give us the probability of less than equal to 2.4. Now we can actually use the function inverse normal and then find the value for this. And this gives you the z value, right? So z score is there. So we got the z score by the inverse function in this particular situation, and that gives us our equation number one. So equation number one relates the mean and the standard deviation from the condition of rejection on the higher side. So we'll do the same calculations on the lower side also. So probability for less than 1.8 is given to us 0.08. So inverse variance will give us the answer as minus 1.4, and substituting that z-score, we can again get a relation between mean and standard deviation. So that results into the second equation. So we have two equations with two unknowns. So we can actually solve these two equations to find the value of mean and the standard deviation. Correct? So if you subtract one from the other, in that case, you'll find that minus mu and minus mu, which is the mean, cancels away, and so you can find the standard deviation. So once you do that, you get a standard deviation of 0.2. Now once you have the standard deviation, you can substitute the value and then find what the mean is, correct? So mean will be, you can use any one of these equations. I substituted that in equation 2, and then we calculated that as 2.08. So we get the mean as 2.08 centimeters and standard deviation of 0.2. Now here is the last question. The discrete random variable x can take only the values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The probability distribution of x is given by that probability x equals to 1, probability x equals to 0 is equal to probability x equals to 1 is equal to probability x equals to 2, and all these values are a. Similarly, b is the probability distribution when we are considering the random variable x as equal to 3, 4, or 5. Correct. We are also given another condition here, which is that the probability for x greater than equal to 2 is equal to 3 times the probability for x less than 2. A and B are the constants for which we need to find the value. Well, we know that the total probability will be equal to 1. Adding 3 of A's and 3 of B's gives us 1. And so we can isolate 3B and write it in terms of A, which is 1 minus 3A. Now we'll use the second condition given to us, which is probability for x greater than equal to 2 is equals to 3 times probability for x less than 2. Now, 3b is 1 minus 3a, and here, when you do that, we get probability x greater than equal to 2 is a plus 3b, right? Those are the three. A plus 3b is greater than equal to 2. So that means we are adding these, correct? Right. So we get this combination, And what I mean to say is we are adding these, right? Yeah, a plus 3b. Now that should be equals to 3 times 2a, right? These two, 3 times. And so you get the second equation right there. Now we have two equations. We have two parameters to figure out, a and b. You can do substitution or elimination. So I substituted the value of 3b, which is 1 minus 3a, in equation 2. And so we got one equation, calculated the value of a, which comes to 1.8, substitute back 1.8 and then calculate b, which comes out to be 5 by 24. And that is how we are going to solve this particular question. So I hope with this you learn how to answer probability distribution based questions when in the examination the graphing calculator is allowed. So we have two types of tests, one with and one without the graphing calculator. So this is a very valuable test paper sharing with you. Hope it makes sense. Feel free to write your comment, share your views, and if you want to learn from me, you can always send an email on the address given, and also check my website, which is being developed for your benefit. Thanks for your time and all the best.